بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد الإيمان. أخواتنا أخذوا الميكروفون من الأخ.
I used to trade you. Oh, you did long term last week. This look untouched. E16.
Is the mic working? Can you just test it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you're doing long term. So you watch it. You really watch it? Yeah. When you trade it, you don't computer or my phone I barely know how to use. Yeah, when you computer have way more settings. Yeah, on the side there was a straight view. No, this is method trade. Method trade, man. Or also really complicated. On computer you have got 1,000%. Yeah, we have a lot more features. Yeah, my big experience is better anyways. I used to trade view and then my broker is
I thought we were using. Why is it like this?
SPS 500. Yeah. Yeah. So I was on that trade. I traded.
Yeah, if you want.
3K.
Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds. 2 seconds.
Because there was resistance, there was a breaker structure outside. So I was just like jumping into chair. And then yeah, I let go, yeah. No stop loss. What? No stop loss. No stop loss. Because when I put stop loss, yeah, usually because the resistance. Yeah. So I didn't put. So I just went down to the toilet and I just ate some food because SP. I was on 10 minutes, so it took really long to move. And I came back. I was just fully down.
Leave my glasses.
I was so mad. I smacked it. So.
There's nothing in here.
The one I smacked out.
Yeah, left. شباب واحد منكم يجي وانا اريد قران يعني ستارت عبد الوهاب. You asked one of the sisters.
If you're not going to say something, let's read Surah Al-Fatiha.
لا شنو فاتحة؟ لازم نقرأ صور.
لا هو ما يبي يتكلم. أنا حاولت
ثاني مرة إن شاء الله يقرأ.
شوفوا ما كان
يلا اقرأ. ليش؟
يلا مهدي.
ما يصير. قلت لك الحل. ليش ما بدأت الآن؟ شنو إن شاء الله؟ حلو أسبوع. أنا أعطيتك الاسم مو؟ اتصل بي.
No, I'm just telling you as well.
الآن أشوف لك الرقم.
You can just leave it for now. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولكم نصف ما ترك أزواجكم إن لم يكن لهن ولد فإن كان لهن ولد فلكم الربع مما تركن من بعد وصية يوصين بها أو دين ولهن الربع مما تركتم إن لم يكن لكم ولد فإن كان لكم ولد فلهن الثمن مما تركتم من بعد وصية توصون بها أو دين وإن كان رجل يورث كلالة أو امرأة وله أخ أو أخت فلكل واحد منهم السدس فإن كانوا أكثر من ذلك فهم شركاء في الثلث من بعد وصية يوصى بها أو دين غير مضار وصية من الله والله عليم حليم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنت ما شاء الله. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
In some hadith, today is the martyrdom of Syeda Zainab alayhi salam. There is different idea about the history when was her martyrdom and where was her martyrdom. And some ahadith today, this night is the martyrdom of Bibi Zainab alayhi salam. And in some, his shrine is in Damascus, as you know the place. And in other, she is in Egypt. I visited her shrine in Egypt, and some of historical alim of our Ahlul Bayt and others, they say that surely she is in Egypt, not in Damascus. That's why I prefer, if Allah make possibility for me to again do ziyarat and visit her in Egypt, Al-Qahira, inshallah. She is symbol in Islam. She is not Imam. She is not Ma'soom. We have 14 Ma'soom, just 14 Ma'soom. Her mother, Syeda Zahra, she is Ma'soom. She is Ma'soomah. But Syeda Zainab is not Ma'soomah. But even she is not Ma'soomah, there is saying from our Imams about her that we understand that she is Ma'soomah. She is Ma'soomah. What's the meaning of Asmat? Those people, they will not do any sin in their life. This is Asmat. No sin in their life. Gunah nemi gunah. This is Asmat. We'll discuss about that, inshallah, after. Now, today, alhamdulillah, we have this opportunity to respect Zainab. What is the good sifat? What is the meaning of sifat? Attribute. What is the best attribute in her life you know about her? Sisters, brothers, she is high level of patience. الصابرة الصبورة صبر زينب. Allah Akbar. When we speak about patience, sabr, no one can we find, no ladies, no man can we find as Zainab. We can't find. Yes, Amir al-Mu'mineen, yes, Rasulullah, yes, Imam Hussein, but they were Ma'soom. Then for Ma'soom is easy to have high level of patience. But for non-Ma'soom to be in that level of patience, what kind of patience you know about her? Today, this is our role to learn about Zainab, to know about Zainab, and how was her patience. And I'm very happy from you, brothers, sisters, that you will try your best to follow Zainab. When you have problems, to make stress for you, to make difficulty for you, then your symbol of the patient, نمونه الصابر, is Zainab. Allahu Akbar, Zainab. If we do every majalis about Zainab for our mothers, which they have problems in their life, fathers, brothers, sisters, then the best example is Zainab. Zainab. وما أدراك من زينب. That's why it's important for us today to learn as much as possible. You don't have papers with you. I'm not happy. Can you please bring some papers here? Or you write on your telephones, because it will come from here and go out. Please make me happy, because you are in your university. If someone goes to university without paper and without anything, then teacher will not be happy. You know, this is my right. I prepared for you, brothers and sisters. I'm old man. Respect me. I'm coming for you. It's raining. It is cold. It is hot. I am coming. I need respect. Someone is coming late. Someone is, I don't know what. What's this? It's okay. We have to have patience as Zainab. Inshallah. Okay, we'll start, inshallah, with our brothers and sisters. Then, inshallah, we'll have some discussion about her patience. Please.
So the first one on the list is me, and I got children and how she did
Can you take points, please?
how she did a good job raising
No, it's
her
not
children.
enough. You have to write points. What is he speaking about? And then you have to correct him. Or you have to say, no, I'm not happy with this idea. Okay, sisters, brothers, please.
I had a question before we start. You said that she wasn't a ma'soom, but she was also sinless. But then she also had the patience of a ma'soom. So
I will speak about that, inshallah.
okay.
Okay. Thank you for this good question, Mahdi. MashaAllah. Salawat for him.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. When the Prophet was given news of her birth, Jibreel descended with the name chosen for her, Zainab. Today, I wanted to speak about her role in motherhood, how she raised her two children, Aun and Muhammad, and how she didn't just raise them for the sake of having children, she raised them with the sake of Allah in their hearts, so that in the end, the ultimate goal is fi sabilillah. There's a famous tradition from Syeda Zainab's childhood where Imam Hussein was crying continuously and his mother, Sayyidah Fatima, couldn't dampen the temper. But then even Imam Ali couldn't comfort Imam Hussein at the time. And then he was placed in the lap of Sayyidah Zainab and immediately he stopped crying. So we can see that there is a profound connection between these two siblings.
MashaAllah. Good.
When Sayyidah Zainab became a mother, her entire goal was to put the love of Allah within her children's hearts. She didn't just teach that her uncle Hussein was an uncle. She raised them upon hadith and Quranic literature. There's a famous hadith from the Prophet: whoever dies without recognizing the Imam of his time dies the death of ignorance. Honestly, this is one of my biggest fears, but it's alhamdulillah. She conditioned her children to understand that Imam Hussein was the Imam of their time, and that in their lives they must strive to give loyalty and their wilaya to their Imam of the time. Because of this upbringing, Sayyidah Zainab didn't just need to convince her sons to fight on the day of Ashura. When the time came, they begged their uncle for permission. As mentioned in the historical accounts of Karbala, these young boys fought like lions. The narrations tell us that they charged into an army of thousands. One struck 3 horsemen and 18 foot soldiers down, while his brother struck 10 of the army's fiercest fighters. Why were they so brave? In poetry, it's said that they were the grandsons of the hero of Badr. They were fighting with the bravery of Imam Ali, fueled by the teachings of Sayyidah Zainab. But the absolute pinnacle, in my opinion, of her motherhood was shown when her sons fell. When Ali Akbar fell, Sayyidah Zainab rushed out of her tent. When Qasim fell, she rushed out to support her brother.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Ahsant.
But when the bodies of our own flesh and blood, Aun and Muhammad, were brought back to the tents by Imam Hussein, Sayyidah Zainab did not step outside.
Allah.
She stayed hidden in her tent. Why? Because she knew Imam Hussein's heart was breaking, and she refused to let her Imam feel ashamed or burdened by a mother's grief. When she finally spoke of their martyrdom, she echoed the profound hadith of her submission to Allah. She looked towards the heavens and said, Allahumma taqbal minna hadha al-Qurban. O Allah, accept from us this humble sacrifice.
MashaAllah, Ahsant.
She crushed her own maternal heartbreak to protect the Imam of her time. In fact, in a lecture by Sayyid Manak Shwani, he points out that throughout Karbala, Kufa, Sham, Sayyidah Zainab suppressed her fears of her own so that she could protect Imam Hussein. So she had no one else to cry for. It was only weeks later when the caravan arrived to Medina, when Sayyidah Zainab walked back into her empty home and saw 2 empty beds of Auna Muhammad, the saint of Karbala finally collapsed. And the mother wept for her boys. Sayyidah Zainab leaves every parent with a blueprint. She teaches us that our children are not property. They are imanat from Allah. When we raise our youth, we can't just raise them to seek the comforts of dunya. We must raise them to love the Imam of our time, to live the life of our Imam of our time. And the question that she leaves us with is, how can we raise our children to serve the community, to help the Imam of our time?
MashaAllah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Finished? Very good. MashaAllah. Again, salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Okay. Any point?
When you said that she, when Qasim and Ali Akbar fell and she ran out, but she didn't run out from her own for her own children. Why was that? You said I missed that point.
Said that when Ali Akbar fell, Sayyidah Zainab rushed out of her tent. When Qasim fell, she rushed out to support her brother. But then when her own children fell, they were brought back to the tents by Imam Hussein. Sayyidah Zainab did not step outside. She stayed hidden within her tent. Why? Because she knew Imam Hussein's heart was breaking, and she refused to let her Imam feel ashamed by a mother's grief.
Oh, okay.
Very
Sabur,
high level of
patience.
patience.
Maybe.
Yes, that's mean. You know, when Ali Akbar was martyred, if Bibi Zainab wasn't there, we don't know what was happening with Imam Hussein when he was in the body of Ali al-Akbar. Allahu Akbar. He was so ajib, Imam al-Hussein, in the body of Ali al-Akbar. And that's why Bibi Zainab came out from the tent, khayma. Inshallah, in Ashura, you have to listen to this point very carefully. What she said. When they read majalis, just don't stay outside and so come and listen what happened in Ashura. This is important. Why Bibi Zainab came out? Because she knew if she not coming, perhaps Imam Hussein will die in the body of her Ali al-Akbar. That was her role, one of the role. I don't know who will speak about her role in Karbala. This was one of the role of Bibi Zainab in Karbala.
So the next one on the list, we have her life with her husband, how she was, why Amir al-Mu'mineen chose Ja'far, what was the condition between Ja'far and Imam Ali, and I have Ali Kassab down for that. Okay.
After,
we have her life in Karbala. What did she do? In Karbala, she had an important role. What was it? And we have one of the sisters for that.
what's the name?
Huda.
Sister Huda is here.
I think, yeah, she's on the Zoom.
Yes.
Yeah, if you want to.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Wait. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, if you can't hear me, let me know.
Okay.
Yes, you can say Bismillah and start, inshallah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So when we speak about Karbala, our hearts, we immediately turn towards Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You know, we remember his sacrifice, his thirst, and his stand against oppression. But a question arises, if Karbala was the sacrifice of Hussein alayhi salam, then who carried that sacrifice to the world? So if the swords ended the lives of the martyrs, then who ensured that the message would never die? And the answer is Sayyidah Zainab. So from Medina to Mecca, from Mecca to Karbala, Zainab alayhi salam, she remained beside her brother, knowing that his mission was not one of worldly victory, but of sacrifice for the sake of truth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had chosen her for a role that would begin when everyone else thought that the story had ended. So on the day of Ashura, she witnessed unimaginable suffering. Imagine watching her companions fall, her sons, 6-month-old Ali Asghar struck by an arrow while his father's arms. While she watched also her beloved brother Imam Hussein alayhi salam ride out alone, thirsty and wounded, surrounded by thousands. But yet she still remained steadfast. And when Imam Hussein alayhi salam was martyred, and the enemy believed that they had won, and they thought Karbala was over and the silence would bury the truth, they forgot one thing, that Zainab was still alive. They set the tents ablaze, the children ran through the flames, the children were subjected to such humiliation with their hijabs being taken from them and their dignity being attacked. But even in those darkest moments, Zainab alayhi salam, she did not break. She gathered the children, comforted the orphans, protected Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, and she became the shield of the Ahlul Bayt. So I think many people think that courage is just going out to the battlefield and fighting enemies physically. But there's another kind of courage. The courage is to stand after losing everything and to speak when speaking could cost your life. and to defend the truth while he was, taken prisoner. And while she was taken prisoner, she was asked how she viewed the tragedy of Karbala, and she gave the reply, "I saw nothing but beauty." The fact that she saw beyond the blood and the pain, and she saw the victory of truth. And when she stood in front of Yazid, without an army, without wealth, without weapons, and she reminded people who Hussein Islam was, who the Prophet was, peace be upon him, and what Islam truly stood for, her words become more powerful than swords and more powerful than any army. And this is why the world knows about Karbala today. Had she remained silent, maybe the oppressors may have written their own story. If she kept silent, maybe the sacrifice of Hussein might have been hidden. But she refused to be silent, and she became the voice, the guardian, and the messenger of Karbala. And the world knows who Hussein salam is because Zainab told the world about Hussein. And so for us in this day and age, what Zainab teaches me, and I hope what she teaches everybody else, is that faith is strength, modesty is dignity, and the truth is worth defending no matter the cost. And she teaches us that you don't need a big throne to change history. You don't need an army to stand for justice.
MashaAllah.
You only need faith in Allah. And her voice still echoes through every generation. So whenever truth is threatened, or dignity is attacked, or our faith is tested, we must always remember Zainab alayhi salam. And we always must ask ourselves, are we having the patience of Zainab? Are we having the courage of her? Are we having the voice of her? And inshallah, I pray that Allah grants us the tongues that speak truth like Zainab, and we have the hearts that carry patience like her, and faith that remains firm like her. And may we never forget that after the tragedy of Karbala, one woman stood up and carried its message to the world. And because of her, Karbala lives forever.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. MashaAllah, very good. I have two ideas about your speech, sister. Inshallah, and brothers will continue if they have some point. The first, that it's very good to write your lecture, and also our other brothers, inshallah, and we'll make it one small book. Okay? From this group, inshallah, we will send it out, one small book about Syeda Zainab. And inshallah, it will be very good one from your group, inshallah, to do that. And for that, I want everyone to write his lecture and send it to our group. And then, inshallah, we will try our best to make it one small book about Syeda Zainab, inshallah. What we named the small book? Booklet? Yeah, we can say what. Okay, this is the first idea. And the second, when you do speech, Sister Huda, don't be so rapid, so quick, because my English is not so good, and I want to have benefit from your speech. And inshallah, make it little bit, what we say, slowly, yes, then I can have good benefit from your speech. I'm so happy from your speech, alhamdulillah, all of you, and inshallah you will be the best. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أنا أريد الصلوات عالية.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أكو أي ملاحظة? Any point? No? Why no? Think. إن شاء الله. ما عندك؟ كله جيد. كله جيد. الحمد لله. Yes.
Next one I have down is her role in Sham and Damascus. That's Rumi. He's also on this one. Is
Romeo, are you on the Zoom? Is he on the Zoom?
Yes, I'm on the Zoom.
Yes, there you go. You got the mics all yours.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
السلام عليكم شيخنا.
عليكم السلام حبيبي، مستفقدينك.
وأنا أكثر. Firstly, I want to say to the boys that I miss you all. Inshallah, see you soon.
إن شاء الله.
For quick, inshallah, gathering of everyone. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على
على
محمد وآل محمد.
So my section of today is muhadara on Syeda Zainab and her role in Dimashq. And to be honest with you, I think this is one of the most important roles she could have had, because it's one thing, being courageous when life is, your brothers are alive or even at battle, but then there's another thing where, you've just witnessed your brothers dying, your sons, your cousins, and you've had to walk from Iraq all the way to Syria, chained up. That's a problem in itself. So today I'd like to speak about her role. As my sister mentioned before, Syeda Zainab, her role was a leader after the Battle of Karbala. She was the protector, she was the voice of Ahl al-Bayt.
MashaAllah.
And typically, it will be normal for a person to accept defeat after that battle. But as Sheikhna said at the start, she is a ma'sooma, meaning that she is, she has divine qualities, meaning that she was able to guard children, she was able to maintain the dignity of Ahl al-Bayt and keep the spirit of Imam al-Hussein alive. An important thing that she did was also preserve Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. In the courts of Damascus, they did attempt to kill Imam Sajjad, and if Imam Sajjad was killed or martyred, I should say, that means we won't have our Imam. So Syeda Zainab was vital in that aspect. I'd like to speak about the speech that she gave when she arrived in the courts of Damascus. This, I could warn you though, this might be a tiny bit long, but it is worth the listen, and it is one of the most documented and respected orations.
أحسنت. Yes, أحسنت. Continue.
So
MashaAllah.
she began her speech by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending salawat on the Prophet and his family. And the first thing she did was immediately she established her lineage, and she established a moral authority in the court that had the same court and the same people that had just killed her brother. And this was not, a rhetoric. This was a rhetoric act, sorry, because she's not speaking as a captive, or rather she's speaking as the descendant of the Prophet. So addressing a usurper, addressing all of these, people that have just wronged her family, and to be honest with you, wronged Islam in general. She used the ayah, بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا يحسبن الذين كفروا أنما نملي لهم خير لأنفسهم إنما نملي لهم ليزدادوا إثما ولهم عذاب مهين. Which means, let not the disbelievers think that our giving them respite is good for them. We only give them respite so that they may increase in sin, and for them is a humiliating punishment. And this was directed at the leaders such as, Yazid and all of his ministers. And what she is saying is, it is, even though you killed us, we are not dishonored. We are dead, but with dignity, but you will live with dishonor. And that Yazid would live and die in shame. And this is such a courageous thing to do, because she's literally standing in front of his advisors, his ministers, and she wasn't scared for her life. Rather, she was, pushing the Islamic cause further. And on the specific killing of Imam Hussein, alayhi salam, she spoke of Imam Hussein not as a defeated man, but rather as a shaheed whose blood will never be forgotten. And this could also be considered as a prophecy because, as we're 1,000, almost 1,300 years after this incident, and we still remember Imam Hussein, and there are still 20 million people visiting him in Arba'in. I had the pleasure of being in Sha'baniya in February, and it was literally, I think Hajj was 12 million this year. Imam Hussein is double that. So it shows you the blessings of Imam Hussein and the prophecy of Syeda Zainab. But also, what's interesting is another form of courage is she was referring to Yazid and his family as Ibn al-Tulaqa,
good, mashallah,
which translates to the son of the freed ones. And why I'm mentioning this is because these tulaqa, or the freed ones, are the people that were released by the Prophet at the conquest of Mecca, which was the last conquest of the Prophet before he died, before he was martyred. And these people, so his granddad, Yazid's dad, has spent their entire lives fighting Islam. And in the last moment, it was the Prophet's mercy that saved them from death. And it was not it is not an insult created by Zainab alayhi salam. Rather, the Prophet used to call these people Tulaqa as well. So she is continuing what her grandfather was saying. And the implication we can get from this is, listen, you and your family did not choose Islam, and you were brought into it by my grandfather and were defeated, and we showed you mercy. And your grandfather took up the sword against this religion for decades. So calling him Ibn al-Tulaqa in an open court, she was saying, your Islamic legitimacy is questioned, is borrowed, is late, and it's built on the graves of many Muslims that have died before. His grandmother ate the liver of Sayyidina Hamza alayhi salam.
Mashallah.
There are many.
Hussein, you have to speak after him at some point. Okay? Everyone, you have to continue something. What's your name? Sami. You have to speak some point about what he said. Be careful about what he said. Okay? Inshallah. Yes, continue.
Inshallah, Shaykh. So there were many. She was saying that, look, you're not perfect, and you claim that my brother was, going against Islam, but rather you, your father, your grandfather, your grandmother were all against Islam. So then later towards the end of her speech, she said, فكد كيدك وأسرع سعيك وانصب جهدك
فوالله لا تمحو ذكرنا ولا تميت وحينا.
In English, this is, so plot your plots and strive your strivings and exhaust your efforts, but by Allah, you will never erase our remembrance and you will never extinguish our revelation. And then later she said in Arabic, ولا تدرك أمدنا ولا تعرض عنك عارها وهل
رأيك إلا فند وأيامك إلا عدد.
So this means in English, you will not reach our horizon, you will never wash the shame from yourself. Is your opinion anything but foolishness, and your days are anything but numbered? This is the definition of courage. She said this in his palace, surrounded by his army. History later on proved her right. And Yazid died after 3 years. His dynasty was fractured, and his name became a byword, not just in Shia Islam, but rather in Sunni Islam as well. So this was her khutbah in the courts. And I'd just like to finish just talking about her time in Syria. So even as a captive, she still gathered women, she grieved families, and she explained what happened in Karbala as the people before me said. in full detail. And for this reason, we know, a portion of what happened in Karbala. She was constantly mourning, and she was a huge part of this historical preservation of all the events that had occurred. And without her testimony, much of the eyewitnesses' account of Karbala would have been lost. In Syria, in her presence in Syria was a form of resistance. She was in the Bani Umayyah capital. She was forced to host. She was uncomfortable. She was the sister of the man that the Khalifa, so-called Khalifa, had killed. But people still came to her, and she built sympathy for Ahlul Bayt around Damascus. And as I mentioned before, she was the protector of Imam Zainab al-Abidin. So to conclude, and I apologize for this long speech,
It's okay.
I think that there isn't a long speech for Syeda Zainab, and we could speak a lot of these, to be honest.
MashaAllah.
Her residence in Syria remains the testimony where, her words replaced the sword. So even though Karbala, the Battle of Karbala was over, it had, somewhat continued linguistically. The battle, was lost in military terms, but in Syria, Syeda Zainab alayhi salam ensured that it was not lost in human memory, and every narration of Karbala that reached generations passed through because of her. And her words in Yazid's courts, her gatherings in captivity, her protection of Imam Zainab al-Abidin as-Sajjad alayhi salam, was continuous, and this is what carried the tradition forward.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. MashaAllah. Very good. Very good. Ahsant. I hope, inshallah, you will be with us as soon as possible. Inshallah. Thank you very much. There's any point?
The Zoom's also about to end in 5 minutes, so if you want to carry on watching, there's a link to the YouTube stream on chat.
I had a quick question. In the beginning, you mentioned that she established moral authority in the court of Yazid. I'm just wondering how she did that. And then, from my understanding, I thought most of the narrations from Karbala narrations come from Ziyarat al-Nahiyah. So I was just wondering.
Shortly, inshallah.
Yes.
Very good question. First question regarding the authority. It was more her telling the courts of Yazid, who am I and who are you? In fact, this isn't authority. In fact, she's just telling the truth. She's saying, look, I'm daughter of Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. I'm the daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib. My granddad is Rasulullah. Does anyone dare to have more authority than this?
MashaAllah. Good, good.
And regarding the second question, sorry, I forgot it.
What was the second question?
The second question was, I thought most of narrations from the Maqdal came from Ziyarat al-Nahiyah.
Well, I think Sheikh is more
Okay,
eligible to answer that
inshallah.
question.
We will speak about that. Ahsant. Ahsant.
Anyone else?
أهلا بك يا
Abdul Wahab?
most welcome.
I have a comment, just a comment.
احكي موضوعك لأن الوقت صار.
بس ماكو في بعد من
بس شوفوا منو دور منو.
Who's next?
Sister.
Okay.
We've got her role when she returned to Medina were Sister Alia.
Assalamu alaikum.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So after the tragedy of Karbala, Syeda Zainab faced immense challenges that, to be honest, would have broken so many people. Yet in those darkest moments, she really truly remained
عفوا
strong.
ممكن أعرف شنو موضوع كلامكم لأن الإخوة دا يكتبون عندهم شنو موضوع what is the point you will speak about, Sister Ali?
Oh, I think it was how when she returned to Medina.
Okay, that's very important point.
Yeah, so
What was the role of Bibi Zainab in
Medina, yeah.
in where?
Medina.
Everyone? In Medina, which very important. Yes, please.
So we've already established her role in sort of in Karbala and in Syria, and her role really was to protect the women, the children, to comfort them during the captivity, as well as caring for her sick nephew, Imam Zain al-Abidin. One of her greatest examples has always been her speeches, and in Kufa she challenged the people who had banded Imam Hussein and reminded them of their responsibility. In Syria, she stood before the ruler and she fearlessly spoke the truth, refusing to let the sacrifice of Karbala be hidden or forgotten. But when she returned to Medina, she was carrying this immense grief, but she still didn't remain silent. So she gathered the people and she recounted exactly what happened in Karbala. And through her words, the people of Medina learned about the suffering of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his family. So she turned that sorrow into that mission of education and remembrance.
MashaAllah. Good.
In Medina, she became that source of that guidance and inspiration. And despite that personal loss, she showed that patience, her faith, and that devotion to Allah. So in Medina, her role was to teach people, the people of Medina, that standing for justice was so much more important than remaining silent in that face of oppression. Her home in Medina became that sort of place where the message of Karbala was kept alive, kept remembering, and ensuring that the future generations to come would never forget the sacrifices made for the truth and righteousness. So she was that seed, and through talking to so many people, and that people would spread that message further and further. It's the reason why to this day we know the story of Karbala. So ultimately, when she returned to Medina, she didn't withdraw from society despite the grief. We see many, people deal with grief very differently. And sometimes when you have this immense loss, people tend to withdraw, they shut themselves from society, and they become sort of enclosed in oneself. But she was the opposite. She used that grief to show the devotion for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to show to people her strength, and to show if I can go through this and still remain strong, no matter what challenges you may face in the future, we can still be strong together. So she told the people the truth about Karbala, and she, most importantly, held the gatherings in her home to remember those who were martyred. And she really became that living example of that patience, that courage, and that strength. And through the efforts in Medina, the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam continues to inspire us through many generations to come. And her life reminds us that the true strength doesn't lie in the power or in the wealth, but it lies in being courageous and speaking the truth no matter what the cost is.
MashaAllah. I have 2 points for you, Sister Alia. First, that for that reason was Yazid and Banu Umayyah banishing, I think this is نفي الإنسان. علي شنو بالإنجليزي نفي؟ واحد ينفو من بلده. Banishing. They banished Bibi Zainab from Medina. Why? This was the reason. Okay? And the second reason was Harbul Harra. What is Harbul Harra? The fight happened between Medina and Yazid. Who make that? The speeches of Imam Zain al-Abidin and Zainab. It's very hard job she did, very high level job she did in Medina. Can you continue with this, inshallah, in your article? And this will be, inshallah, a very good article for our, you said booklet?
Yeah, booklet.
We'll send it for this group, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Ahsant.
We have another one. Her role in Kufa, which is different to her role in Karbala. What is the difference? And we have Ali Zahir to that.
MashaAllah.
Mom, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So on.
Yeah, just you see that one. Like, no. That one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so like Mehdi said, I'll be talking about the role of Syeda Zainab, salawatullah alayha, in Kufa, compared to the role in Karbala, what was so different about it. So when we speak about Karbala, we usually focus on the battlefield, being Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions and the sacrifice that they made. But after the battle ended, like multiple people have said, there was another mission that began, which was carried by Syeda Zainab salawatullah alayha. So her role in Kufa was very different from her role in Karbala. In Karbala, she was protecting the women and the children, staying strong after losing her brothers, sons, nephews, family members. But in Kufa, her role became public. She became the voice of Imam Hussein, of Imam Hussein's message.
MashaAllah. Good.
After Ashura, the family of the Prophet were taken as prisoners and brought into Kufa. The people of Kufa gathered around them, and many of them began crying when they saw the captives and realized what had happened. But Syeda Zainab, salawatullahi alayha, did not simply accept their tears. She spoke to them with strength. She reminded them that many of them had invited Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but then had abandoned him when he needed the support. They were crying after the crime had already happened, but Syeda Zainab alayhi salam exposed that the crying without action is not enough.
MashaAllah. Good.
This shows us
Today
that
also the same.
Naam.
We have to have action.
Exactly. Which shows us that one of her most important roles in Kufa was that she awakened the people's conscience. She didn't allow the enemies to control the story. The rulers wanted people to think that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was defeated or that the captives were weak. But Syeda Zainab alayhi salam changed the whole atmosphere. Even though she was a prisoner, she spoke like a leader. Even though she had suffered so much, she spoke with dignity, confidence, and faith.
MashaAllah.
Her speech in Kufa reminded people who Imam Hussein alayhi salam really was. He was not just a political opponent, he was the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam, and the leader who stood for the truth against oppression. Another important role she had in Kufa was that she protected the message of Karbala from being forgotten or twisted. If Syeda Zainab stayed silent, people may have only remembered Karbala as just a battle. But because she spoke, Karbala became a movement. She made it clear that Imam Hussein alayhi salam stood for justice, truth, and Islam itself. And Syeda Zainab alayhi salam also showed that strength is not only physical. In Kufa, she had no army, no weapons, and no worldly power, but she had truth, patience, and courage.
MashaAllah.
And her words shook the people more than swords could. This is why she is also remembered as the one who carried Karbala after Imam Hussein alayhi salam was martyred. A lesson we can take from her role in Kufa is that we should not stay silent when the truth is being hidden. Syeda Zainab alayhi salam teaches us that even in the hardest moments, a believer must stand with justice. She also teaches us that crying for Imam Hussein alayhi salam should not just be emotional. It should change us and it should make us more honest, more brave, and more loyal to the truth. So to conclude, Syeda Zainab alayhi salam's role in Kufa was to expose the betrayal of the people, defend Imam Hussein's mission, and make sure the message of Karbala reached the hearts of the people. She turned captivity into a platform, pain into power, and grief into guidance.
MashaAllah.
And may Allah allow us to follow the same path as Syeda Zainab alayhi salam and stand with the truth the way she did.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Actually, there is two other. Can you write it in your point? Then you continue, finish it for us for our booklet. There is two other point in her role in Kufa. The first, that she was the leader of others to speak. You know, she said to Fatima to Sughra to speak. She said to Kulthum to speak. And for everyone, by my understanding, she said to him what to speak about. You know what I mean? She guided everyone. This is very important if you read in their speech, in the speech of Kulthum in the speech of Fatima Sughra, except Imam Zain al-Abidin because he is himself, he is Imam. Okay, but when you go to Fatima Sughra, when you go to Kulthum and you listen to their speech, you will find that Bibi Zainab, she was the leader of their speech to what I can say, to take the messages which the Kufa people needed to them, to spread the message which they needed. Everyone said something to complete. Then when you read all the messages of Zainul Abidin, of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, of Zainab, of Kulthum, of, then you will find complete lessons Kufa people needed after Karbala. This is very important. If you can have time, inshallah, you and sisters, to write about this, very, very, very important point. This is first. And the second, don't forget when she said, ما رأيت إلا جميلة. Allahu Akbar. I didn't saw just beauty. Ooh. What is this lesson? What is the beauty? What was the beauty of Karbala? The martyrdom of Imam al-Hussein, the cutting his head, the putting his body in what we say?
Trample?
Yeah, this was Jamil, this was beauty. How she said, ما رأيت إلا جميلة. Thank you very much. أحسنت. ما شاء الله. ما شاء الله. Yes.
That was all of the. Unless anyone else has
I
a
didn't,
speech.
I didn't do my speech because it was
Can you do a speech?
Yeah.
Yeah, he have and Hussein have. So inshallah. Yeah. And inshallah.
So
Just short one because the time inshallah.
Mine's pretty short.
Not necessarily. Very short. Also Abdul Wahab, inshallah. Sisters, do you have some other speeches to do? Because this is Bibi Zainab alayhi salam, and sisters have to have good. Yes, please.
So mine was
Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My speech is on her life with her husband, how she was, and why Amir Mu'mineen chose Ja'far, and what was the condition between him and Imam Ali.
Big question.
Yes.
Why Amir al-Mu'mineen choose Ja'far? Yes.
So so when the blessed time came for Syeda Zainab alayhi salam to enter marriage, Amir al-Mu'mineen chose Abdullah ibn Ja'far as her husband. Abdullah was the son of Ja'far al-Tayyar.
Yeah, it's okay.
Tayyar, the noble brother of Imam Ali alayhi salam, making him Syeda Zainab's cousin. Ja'far was among the most beloved companions of the Holy Prophet subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the Prophet's love for him was immense. After Ja'far attained martyrdom, the Prophet personally cared for his children, nurturing them with compassion and praying for their success and blessings. Abdullah ibn Ja'far grew into a man renowned for his generosity, noble character, and unwavering love for the Ahlul Bayt. His relationship with Imam Ali alayhi salam was built upon trust, respect, and deep family loyalty. Imam Ali knew the worth of Abdullah's character and was confident that he would honor, cherish, and support his beloved daughter. Syeda Zainab was the embodiment of excellence in family life. Despite her lofty rank and noble lineage, she remained humble, compassionate, and devoted to her household. Yet her responsibilities at home never distracted her from worship, service to Islam, and devotion to Allah. Her blessed marriage reminds us that true success in family life is not built upon wealth or status, but upon faith, noble character, sincerity, and commitment to Allah.
MashaAllah. Hassan. Good, good.
Prophet Muhammad beautifully taught us the best of you are those who are best to their families, which is a powerful reminder this when we reflect upon the home of Syeda Zainab alayhi salam and Abdullah ibn Ja'far, a home illuminated by faith, mutual respect, and devotion to Allah. In another hadith, the Prophet said, when someone whose religion and character please you, marry him. Abdullah ibn Ja'far was a shining example of both faith and noble character, and it was these qualities that made him worthy of being chosen as the husband of Syeda Zainab alayhi salam. So may Allah grant us the ability to learn from their blessed example. May we embody their faith, loyalty, humility, and good character, and may we strive to build our homes and our lives upon the teachings of the Prophets.
MashaAllah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa al. Good. MashaAllah. MashaAllah. There is some point we have to continue on this one. What is that? Sisters, brothers? Why the special, what was special in Ja'far, in Abdullah bin Ja'far? Okay, do you know what was the condition between Amir al-Mu'mineen, her father, and Abdullah bin Ja'far? Anyone? Sisters? This is the point which it is important to think about it and read about it. This was condition between Amir al-Mu'mineen and Abdullah bin Ja'far. To what? To make everything for Karbala. To prepare Aun and Ja'far for what? For Karbala, to be martyred in Karbala. To give the opportunity for Zainab alayhi salam to be the leader of Karbala. You know, Zainab is leader in Karbala. It's not, she is not just, as Brother Ali mentioned, she was not have permission to do crime. And we have some wasiyah, the will from Imam al-Hussein to Zainab in the night of Ashura. Very important. The time is short. Brother Khalis told us to come little bit late. We come later, but I hope, inshallah, we will have time for future, because we have to speak about what was the will of Imam al-Hussein to Zainab, what he said to her, how Imam Hussein guided Zainab to do the job. Every job she did in Karbala, in Kufa, in Damascus, in Medina, it was with the guidance of Imam al-Hussein. And this is what we can find it in. Then the last one is the condition between Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen and Abdullah ibn Ja'far to let Sayyida Zainab to guide the story of Karbala, hold the story of Karbala, you know, because she had permission to do that from her husband, you know, and how it was, it's very important, inshallah. Ahsant Ali, mashallah, was very good. Yes?
I have my speech ready, sorry. Sorry, I'm late, wallah. I had something to do at home. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this
What
speech,
is your
sorry,
topic?
I'll tell you now. Today, I would like to speak about the beautiful relationship that Sayyida Zainab had with her two brothers, Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Al-Abbas alayhi salam. Sayyida Zainab was raised in the household of revelation. Her father was Imam Ali and her mother was Fatima al-Zahra. and she is the granddaughter of Rasulullah. Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
She learned faith, patience, courage, and knowledge directly from the greatest personalities in Islam. The bond between Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam and Imam Hussein alayhi salam was unique. Their relationship was built upon love, faith, and obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam famously said regarding Imam Hussein, Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. Allah loves whoever loves Hussein. This hadith teaches us the lofty status of Imam Hussein and helps us understand why Sayyidah Zainab dedicated her life to supporting him. When Imam Hussein left Medina for Mecca and then towards Karbala, Sayyidah Zainab chose to accompany him. She knew the dangers ahead, yet she remained by her brother's side. Her loyalty was not based on convenience, but on her recognition of Islam at that time. Imam Ali is reported to have said, stand with the truth and the people of the truth. Sayyidah Zainab embodied this teaching. She stood with Imam Hussein alayhi salam, who was the manifestation of truth against oppression of Yazid. And the tragedy of Karbala when Sayyidah Zainab saw the martyrs and all the suffering around her, she displayed extraordinary patience. When asked by Yazid, Ibn Zayd, I think, how she viewed what happened, she said, I saw nothing but beauty. This remarkable statement shows her...
Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad.
Oh, sorry, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. I saw nothing but beauty. The remarkable statement shows that her deep faith and certainty that the sacrifice was made in Karbala was for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyidah Zainab also shared a special relationship with her brother Al-Abbas. He was known for his loyalty and bravery. He was the standard bearer of Imam Hussein's army and the protector of the women and the children. Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq described Al-Abbas alayhi salam. Our uncle Abbas possessed deep insight, firm faith, and fought alongside Imam Hussein, sacrificed himself in his path. This narration highlights the exceptional faith and devotion of Al-Abbas alayhi salam. Throughout the journey to Karbala and during the days of Muharram, Al-Abbas cared for and protected Sayyidah Zainab alayhi salam and the other members of the family. His presence gave comfort to the camp. For this reason, his martyrdom was one of the most painful moments of the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. The relationship between Sayyidah Zainab, Imam Hussein, and Al-Abbas teaches us many lessons. It teaches us loyalty to the truth, courage in times of difficulty, and patience during trials, and unwavering support to our family and faith. Sayyidah Zainab preserved the message of Karbala through her speeches. Al-Abbas alayhi salam demonstrated perfect loyalty, and Imam Hussein sacrificed everything towards Islam. Together, they showed the world what it means to serve Allah sincerely. Sincerely, yeah.
Good.
Sincerely.
Salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Ahsant, mashallah, khalis. I actually wanted to have some lawha, شو يسمون lawha? Board, whiteboard. If we have it here, and I want every one of you write what was the sisters and brothers, what was the source of your article? Because masadir, the masadir, where from did you get this point which you spoke about? Just I want you to have more to have more source, مصادر, resource,
Sources, yeah.
resources, more sources about Karbala, because, and especially about Syeda Zainab, because this point about Syeda Zainab, as I mentioned, I want you to continue it. For example, this our great brother here, what's your name? Hussein, mashallah. His name is Hussein. Okay, this brother Hussein, other brother Hussein, other brother Hussein. Okay, they couldn't have good time now to speak about Zainab, and they have responsibility. They are Hussein, and Hussein have to speak about. Yes, Hussein, you have to speak about Zainab. But okay, but I want you to speak very deeply. You know what I mean? Very deeply. Huh? Punctually, very deep about to explain some philosophic of things. You know what I mean? What was the philosophic of this? Because we can speak normal, yeah, this was Karbala and so and so. This is what we know. But for this, as I mentioned, you wasn't here, that we hope, inshallah, to do a booklet from your group about Syeda Zainab. Because you did good job. Every one of you, alhamdulillah, you write, sisters, brothers, you write good job, good things. And we can continue with whoever he didn't, like Hussein, like others, inshallah. We can continue and make it other, inshallah, gathering for that. And this is very important to write about Imam al-Hussein and Syeda Zainab, especially Ashura will come, you know. And when Ashura is there, then the main, as I mentioned before, the main point in Ashura is Zainab. More than Imam al-Hussein. We speak normally about Imam al-Hussein, but the role of Zainab to how to she and Imam Zain al-Abidin, she continued the Karbala message to everyone. It's very important. Okay, we have just 2 minutes, 3 minutes for Salat. You can, yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
And also Hussein, inshallah. And
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So initially I wanted to talk about Sayyida Zainab's role in Sham, but I'm going to condense it all and more talk about what everyone's talked about. The one thing that stands out to me is, and what word's been repeated so many times, is the word truth. So there's a saying, the truth shall set you free. And I think with Sayyida Zainab, she set Karbala free. What happened in Karbala free? It wasn't just a battle like Romy said. It became something that has held on for thousands of years, and it's become what it is today. So I think one of the things that we can take from it is that, you know, even in times of sorrow, even times of like hardship, speaking the truth, what you feel, I think
fight for truth.
And fight for it, of course.
Yeah,
yes.
Fight for truth.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Fight for it
and
till the end.
Sacrifice for truth.
Naam, yes. I think that's very important, and I think that's one of the messages that I've taken from Sayyida Zainab. So yeah.
ما شاء الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ممكن
صلاة ولا
يعني بعد دقيقتين
إن شاء الله.
موجود عندنا وقت.
When you hear words Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, when you hear words like ألا تهددوننا بالموت يا أبناء الطلقاء فالموت لنا عادة وكرامتنا من الله هي الشهادة, in the middle of being held as a captive in the courts of these coward people. So in the court, Yazid appeared to be celebrating what he saw as a political victory.
What is the topic of your saying? Hussein didn't give us the topic. can you write it for us, inshallah, and send it for us? What is the topics you will
The
speak
topic
about?
is pretty much what everyone has said. I just want to
No, I
condense
don't
it.
want this.
You don't want this? Okay,
I
so
want some
inshallah.
topic
So
to speak about.
this is the tragedy of after the tragedy of the Battle of Karbala.
MashaAllah.
Yeah,
Good.
so after surviving members of the Prophet's family like Zainab bint Ali, salawatullah alayh, she was taken as a captive, as we said, from Karbala through Kufa and eventually to Damascus, the capital of the Umayyad Khalifa. By the capital of the Umayyad Khalifa. Her brother Hussein ibn Ali had been killed along with many of his family members and companions,
MashaAllah.
and the captives were brought before the ruler, La'natullah alayhi, Yazid.
MashaAllah.
In the court of Yazid, Yazid appeared to be celebrating what he saw as a victory, as a political victory. The family of Hussein had lost loved ones, the camp had been destroyed, and they stood as prisoners before the most powerful coward in the empire.
MashaAllah.
From a worldly perspective, it seemed that Yazid had won the war and the family of the Prophet had been defeated. But Syeda Zainab alayhi salam refused to accept the narrative. She stood before the court and reminded everyone that power and truth are not the same thing. And just like Hussein said, truth sets people free. So she argued that oppression and she established that they cannot erase justice or God's message. In this context, she delivered actually what Rumi has said, one of the most famous declarations, and that is فَكِدْ كَيْدَكْ وَسِعْ سَعْيَكْ وَنَاصِبْ جَهْدَكْ فَوَاللَّهِ لَا تَمْحُ ذِكْرَنَا وَلَا تُمِيتْ وَحْيَنَا. So scheme whatever you can, strive with all your effort, exert your utmost power. By Allah, you will never erase our remembrance, nor will you cause our message to die. So a clear goal that we can take from this is that we need to stay principled and truthful even when we are powerless or under pressure.
MashaAllah. Good.
Yeah, so that's it for me. Alhamdulillah.
Ahsan. Salawat.
Allahumma salli ala
Muhammad. Inshallah, next time you will also Abdul Wahab, because the time of Salat came, and then we have to, inshallah, stop for Salat, inshallah. Even I will not do speech because that's at the time of Salat. I'm very